Alright, here is my Aquamaxx 12-gallon long aquarium. It's running an Eheim Classic 2211 filter. That's an Aqueon Pro heater. And then I have a 50-watt LED, which is, in hindsight, a little too much. I've had some green hair algae problems. I just did a pretty big water change and took out a lot of it, but you can probably still see there's a fair amount of algae in here. I'm working on a DIY CO2 setup actually, and hopefully that will help plant growth and inhibit algae. I've also got a lot of floating plants up here, and hopefully their cover will reduce some of the light. I got wax paper actually on my light right now to reduce some light, but I'll take that off as soon as the floating plants cover a little more. Living in here, I have my betta fish. His tail's a little torn up. He's recovering from some fin rot. He used to live in a 2.5-gallon aquarium that just wasn't enough space for him and a snail, so he got fin rot, but he's actually recovering pretty well. He's been in here a couple weeks. The tank is a month old now, so this was all set up about a month ago. There's also 4 amanos shrimp. I see one. Oh, there he goes. Oh, there's another back there behind that Anubias leaf. Let's try to get a better shot of him. They hang out. I like them a lot. Very good algae eaters. Very entertaining to watch. They get along with my betta just fine. My betta doesn't go after them at all. I've actually seen the amanos fly right up and try to land on my fish, which he does not enjoy, but no casualties. They're all living happily together. Plants in here, I got the Anubias in the back. I've had 3 Anubias nanas, but they all got some fungal disease in their rhizome and they just disintegrated. I killed one of the most notoriously hard to kill aquarium plants, but this big guy's still doing great. He's been putting off some new leaves. I cut off some of the older leaves just because I don't know, they were a little damaged and had some big chunks of algae on them, so I figured if it's growing I might as well cut off the old leaves. We got 2 Amazon swords back here in the corner. Same deal. I cut off all their old leaves, so they're pretty short, but they've been putting off new leaves about once a week. They've been growing pretty fast. There's no CO2 on this tank currently, except I am dosing with Excel, and there's Flourish root tabs. I stopped dosing liquid fertilizers just because of the algae outbreak, but once I hook up the DIY CO2, I'll probably start slowly introducing liquid fertilizers again. But water's treated with Prime, and then it's got Flourish root tabs, and then I have Excel for some carbon supplement. I got banana plants in here. 2 of them. There's the bigger one. He's putting off a new leaf right now. You can see the top of that stem. Another banana plant over here. This one's already put off 2 new leaves in just the 2 weeks that I've had them, which is supposedly pretty uncommon. It's probably because of my really high light. Now I actually forget the name of this plant here, but I've got 3 of them. I started with 2, and this is a completely new growth there in the very bottom left corner since the aquarium started. Floating, I have some dwarf water lettuce as well as water spangles. The lettuce are the bigger ones and the spangles are these hairy darker green ones. I've got a bunch of crypts growing in here. This is a green crypt. You can see behind the wood there. I have another green crypt, and then I have a bunch of red crypts, and they're doing pretty well. Obviously, as slow growing, typically low light plants, they have been getting a lot of algae, but especially these ones that are a bit under the floating plant cover are just doing great. This one right here has quadrupled in size, I would say. This is another plant I forget the name of. It kind of fell apart just by planting, just because it had almost no roots. It's doing okay now. It's starting to grow back. Of course, some of the leaves are kind of bent and damaged, but I'm hoping it will spring back. It's only been in there for about a week and a half, 2 weeks now. I have some Dwarf Sagittarius. Dwarf Sag these guys are just algae magnets right now underneath this intense light going down on them. But you can see they're starting to send off runners. That one on the right there of the big one, that's a new runner. And I have them on both sides. I'm hoping they kind of carpet, once I add the CO2 between the rocks here, I'm hoping they'll carpet the edges. And this glosso, I'm hoping will fill in the middle with the aid of CO2. So far, it's grown a little, but it's really just been tons of algae problems. I had this big clump a little more flattened out previously, but I've just had to yank up so much algae. They've kind of been floating up a little bit, which I don't love. I'm hoping the CO2 will help them. If not, I don't really know what to do here, because there's a lot of light and I would like another big covering fast growing plant, but we'll see. That's kind of what the intent of the glossa was. I know it grows fast under the right conditions. There's an amano. We got a cardinal plant here. It's doing well. Been putting off new leaves. And I guess it's actually 3 or 4 cardinal plants. I'm not entirely sure how it propagates, but I realized that multiple plants were clumped together, so I spread them out a little bit when I bought them. There's another crypt. I love this crypt. It has had a smaller crypt just growing on the tip of its leaf. You see that? That's a crypt growing on a crypt, and I think that's really cool. I like that. It's one of my favorite plants in here. The crypt itself has been, I kind of shoved it behind this dragonstone here, but you can see more leaves are propagating outwards. And then in the back right, this is moneywort. I started with a ton and it was really unhealthy, and I trimmed it to just tops of stems, and it's already grown quite a lot in the past month. And again, I'm hoping with the addition of CO2 to just have it take over and breach the surface. I do have moneywort breaching the surface over there in my little shrimp tank, unheated, unfiltered, but I will do a full tour of that little guy. 2 gallons red cherry shrimp. I'll do that on another day. So yeah, here's my tank. Aquamaxx, 12-gallon long. I love it. I think it's an awesome shape for a tank. It's been my dream tank, and it's been a lot of work to set up, but I'm settling in now with this first month, and I'm really happy with how it looks.